Hello, I'm Dr. Ryan Nemec, the Education Director at the VIA Institute on Character, the nonprofit organization that focuses on educating practitioners about best practices for working with character strengths. Welcome to the VIA Team Report tutorial. Here, we'll learn the key features of the report, as well as ways to interpret the data presented in the graphs throughout the report. The VIA Team Report combines each team member's individual VIA character strengths into a comprehensive overview of your team strengths. It is divided into 5 sections: Team Character Strengths Snapshot, Character Strengths Culture, Strengths of Leadership, Strengths Dynamics, and Aligning Strengths with Functions. The report also offers a set of employee packets so the consultant can distribute the graphs in the report to each team member. Now let's dive in. The first section, Team Character Strengths Snapshot, plots each team member's unique signature strengths on a graph organized by virtue category. Consultants can examine how each individual's signature strengths are dispersed through each of the 6 virtues. They can then use this information to better understand each team member. Looking vertically, you can see each team member's top 4 to 7 strengths of character. The number of top strengths that are identified simply depends on how many tied scores a person has. This table is provided as a snapshot. It's a one-page view of the entire team's top strengths. Looking vertically here, we see the member NEA has most of his top strengths in the wisdom courage area. DON has most of her top strengths in the humanity and justice area. Now BRE has top strengths in the courage and temperance areas, and the other 2 members have strengths across a variety of the categories, creating a picture of a well-balanced team. Further, you can see here that there are only 5 of the 24 character strengths that have no representation by people's top strengths, which again is very good coverage of the entire range of strengths, especially given that this is a team of only 5 people. You can also look horizontally to get a picture of which strengths have the strongest representation. Here you see that there are 3 team members that possess honesty and kindness as top strengths. You can also look at the virtue category level, which in this instance shows fairly even coverage across all 6 categories. This table serves as a good handout to offer each team member as a summary. Next, we see the team's data aggregated. This is a different team, but you can see here what percentage of the team's members have each of the 24 character strengths among their top strengths. Remember, this should be considered a conservative estimate of a team's top strengths, because there could be several additional strengths individuals might have as signature strengths. Here, we see that 100% of this team has perspective among their top strengths, and 80% have judgment, and that 60% have love, perseverance, and social intelligence. The right-hand column shows the average raw score across team members for each strength. You can see that sometimes a strength is strongly represented in the team as noted by the raw score. For example, here, teamwork and leadership both have scores of 4.1, even though none of the team members have these strengths among their highest strengths. As you can see here with humility, humility has both a relatively low score and there is no one with humility as a top strength, indicating that humility is not likely to find strong expression on this team. As with most of the data tables and graphs in this VIA team report, data presentation are followed by a section entitled Exploration, in which several questions are offered to help the team explore the meaning of the data for them. For example, consider this question: which character strengths best define the team's culture? This is a good place here to mention an overarching concept with the VIA team report, that the greatest benefit can be derived from these data through a process of individual and group discovery, as opposed to presenting the data as if they're indisputable facts. Because all psychological tests, and in fact all measurements of any kind, have some degree of error associated with them. They're not perfect. So we consider data such as these as highly suggestive, and that their meaning becomes revealed through a process of exploration and self-discovery. The next graph in the VIA team report is found on page 10. This is the team members' top strengths by virtue category, and it's a pie graph. In reviewing this graph, you should start with the fact that if each virtue category were equally represented, the percentages would be 17% for each piece. Therefore, variations above and below 17% are where you try to detect meaningful variation. So here in red, we have 34% of the members' top strengths in the humanity category. That's twice as much as 17%. The next biggest slice is in the wisdom knowledge category, but it is not much above 17%. So we have a team that cares about others and a team that is otherwise well balanced, with one exception. The exception lies in the category of temperance. This category has the strengths of forgiveness, humility, prudence, and self-regulation. Therefore, the issue of considering how well this team tempers itself in order to get things done becomes an area of exploration. The next data table also reports data from the perspective of virtue categories. This one shows how many top strengths each team member has in each of the virtue categories. Here we see that NEA has one top strength in the wisdom category and two in the humanity. At the bottom of this table, you see the percentages of the team's collective top strengths that fall in each of the virtue categories. Suggested questions for exploration follow, such as, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this virtue profile in terms of the work that the team does? The next graph on page 12 of the report shows the array of 24 strengths across two dimensions. One dimension is labeled heart, and that's on one end, and on the other end, mind, referring to strengths that have a stronger feeling, emotional component on one hand in terms of heart, and those with more of an intellectual, logical component on the other hand in terms of mind. Now the second dimension is labeled interpersonal on one end, referring to character strengths that tend to be expressed in the context of relationship or in the course of interacting with others, while the other end is labeled intrapersonal, and these have expression mostly outside of relationships, within oneself. This display has been called the VIA circumplex model, also referred to as a two-dimensional model. It is the result of a comprehensive statistical analysis that allows us to know how much of each of these four ingredients are represented in each of the strengths. This next display on page 13 here of the report shows which quadrants each of the team members fall into. You can see the team balances across these four quadrants, and you can see how that does and which people fall where. For example, these four team members fall into the interpersonal mind quadrant. The table on page 14 provides the raw data behind the previous VIA circumplex graph, showing for each person how much of each of the four components they have in their array of top strengths. At the bottom, the team average is shown. Here, the team's aggregated top strengths are balanced with 52% of them having the heart component and 48% the mind component, and then 49% interpersonal and 51% intrapersonal components, respectively. The next table and section characterizes the difference between these team scores and the world population in terms of being non-substantial, small, medium, or large. One of the most robust findings in the research literature is that zest, hope, gratitude, curiosity, and love continue to emerge as the character strengths among the 24 that relate most to life satisfaction. Zest has been found to relate to work satisfaction. This table shows which of these life satisfaction strengths each team member is high on, what percentage of the entire team has each of these character strengths among their top strengths, and the raw average score across all team members for each of the life satisfaction strengths. Similar to a previous graph, you can see that it is possible for few team members to have one of these strengths in their top strengths, while the team's average can be fairly high. Section 3 of the team report offers a special perspective on those strengths that are uniquely held as opposed to commonly held by team members. Not all team members will necessarily have unique strengths, which in this report are defined as being held by 2 or fewer team members, or no more than 20% of team members. When a team member has a uniquely held character strength, it means that the team can particularly look to that person to bring that strength forward strongly. Some team members can uniquely offer perspective, while others can be looked upon to offer creative ideas. In the VIA team report, these are referred to as strengths of leadership, because when the situation calls for a strength that someone holds uniquely, at that point, that moment in time, they have a leadership role that they can take on the group. Sometimes it might be for just a few moments. This is contrasted with positional leadership, which is defined by job description. This kind of conditional or situational leadership is defined by personal characteristics. Here, one view shows character strengths and the people who hold them as unique, while the next view shows team members and which, if any, character strengths they possess uniquely in the group. These data help the team inquire as to whether everyone is playing a role that they are uniquely positioned to play. Everyone on a team should know what unique strengths they can look to others for. Section 4 of the report does not provide team data, but simply describes different team dynamics that are related to character strengths. For example, it describes how strengths can collide with one another and how such collisions can be avoided through knowledge of one another's strengths. Section 5 of the report presents a framework for conceptualizing team functions, namely 7 different functions that teams commonly perform. VIA had a panel of experts suggest which of the 24 strengths may align substantially with the various functions playing a primary role and which of the strengths play an important supportive role. This matching is rationally but not empirically derived, and so we consider it to be an exploratory practice. On page 24 of the report, you'll find a table that presents how each team member's top strengths map out on these functions as either primary or supportive. The far right column shows the summary across all functions. In this display, you can see that BRE has 9 primary strengths aligned with the 7 team functions and 4 supportive strengths. Team members with notably more primary and supportive strengths may be poised well to play a leadership role in the team if they're not already doing so. Members with few top strengths aligned with the 7 functions may feel like a weak team member, or perhaps not. This is something to inquire about. And this table offers data to inquire as to whether team members feel actively involved in those places where this report suggests they would like to be. Opportunities for better alignment may emerge from viewing this table. Finally, the VIA team report offers an appendix with tables and graphs from the report that can be copied and handed out to team members. So to summarize, the results contained herein enable individuals and teams to discover things about themselves that can make a practical difference in their fulfillment and performance at work and beyond in their personal lives. The key is to use the information to explore and discover new insights with one another. Many consultants choose to use this VIA Team report with other reports from the VIA Institute, such as the VIA Me report for consumers and the VIA Pro report for practitioners. And if you're interested in getting your own VIA Team report, visit VIA's website for professionals, which is www.viapros.org, and click VIA Team Report under the Reports tab. This page provides additional information on the report, as well as a link to step-by-step instructions on how to get a VIA Team report for your team. Also, if you would like to learn more about the concepts in this tutorial, consider taking the VIA Team course that goes into further depth on the VIA Team report. It offers case examples using the report and reviews important strategies for working with teams to produce higher engagement, productivity, and success. Please go to www.viapros.org.